All right. Shout out to Ticket TV for his live stream right now as I'm recording this. He's telling the absolute truth about Steph Curry, man. A lot of people get really sensitive when you talk about Steph Curry. Okay, um, they do. It's like he's one of these persons that you can't criticize ever, and if you do, they try to spin it as if you're a hater. Um, they make it into a light skin, dark skin thing. They try to shame you out of speaking your mind. Fuck that shit. Okay? And for anybody who's sitting there making it a light skin, dark skin thing, then why the fuck do I praise Klay Thompson to the high heaven? And he's actually biracial. Has nothing to do with his skin complexion. Patrick Mahomes is a tremendous football player, in my opinion. Has nothing to do with his skin complexion. So don't play that stupid ass game with me. Okay? This is the thing. Steph Curry is a tremendous basketball player. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. But even when it comes to the Hall of Fame, there's still different levels. Paul Pierce is going to the Hall of Fame soon. Okay? He's going to be inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, and it's well deserved. 26,000 points, an NBA championship, multiple time All Star. He deserves it. But you know what? Nobody in their right mind would formulate an argument putting Paul Pierce in the same category as a Julius Erving or Larry Bird or LeBron James. Anybody that does is out there fucking gourd. And that's the same thing I'm trying to say, and other people are trying to say about Steph Curry. Steph Curry is a great player. He's going to be eventually the all-time leading three-point shooter, in my opinion. It slowed down a little bit because of injuries, but this season he should pass Reggie Miller for second place all time in three-pointers made. Okay, um, if eventually, if he misses a lot of games, then I think there's a chance James Harden might pass him for second. I don't know, but right now Curry's number two. He's the greatest three-point shooter of all time. He's arguably the greatest shooter of all time, but that's up to debate if you really want to go into advanced metrics when it comes to overall shooting. He's a two-time league MVP. He's a three-time NBA champion. But with all that said, in my estimation, I struggle to put Curry much over top 40 all time, you know? And some people make the argument that he shouldn't be that high. Don't let these ESPN fucking lists, don't let these fucking sports polls fuck your head up as far as how these guys should rank. Don't let this shit cloud your historical perspective. No one has benefited from the recent rule changes more than Steph Curry. Okay? He has. And it's a fact when people say if he played the 1990s, he probably wouldn't average 20 points per game. It has nothing to do with saying that he's not skilled. It's just common sense. Look, let me explain it so that even a dullard can understand it. Football, okay? When your offensive line can't contain the defense, what happens? The linebacker breaks through and applies pressure to the quarterback. When you apply pressure to the quarterback, what does that do to his efficiency as a passer? It plummets, applying pressure, i.e., applying defense. When you have a stellar offensive line and your quarterback's wide open, all on an island to himself all game, that's when you get the 400, 500-yard passing games, the 80, 85% completion games, because very little pressure is being applied. So when we say Steph Curry in this era is not facing the same defensive pressure that he would have faced uh, 15, especially 20 years prior and more, it's common sense. Curry, being able to go up the court and shoot from 30, 35 feet, 25 feet, no one's questioning his range. The difference is that back then, the defenses would have picked him up from, from the get-go, you know what I'm saying, from beyond half court. So he wouldn't have the spacing to be able to get a good look. Just imagine if a guy like Scottie Pippen is picking up Steph Curry all game. Do you think he's going to have a really good game? Or even, I would say even a John Starks. Because it does appear that when you apply pressure on Curry, it affects him. Now we're talking about a defensive era with really, really good one-on-one defenders like Starks, or lockdown Hall of Fame defenders like Pippen and Peyton, Jordan, would be Alvin Robertson if it wasn't for his, personal peccadillos. You know, Stockton was feisty. The reason why he would average fewer points is number one, it wasn't as perimeter heavy orientated as far as the offenses are concerned. That's when you still had the big man more involved. Curry in that age, think about it. The only guy that I can think of, the only players that come to mind that were pretty much 3-point specialists and led their teams in scoring in the mid 90s. I'm not saying 3-point specialists. That's what they like when you think of it. That's when it comes to mind. Probably Reggie Miller, Glenn Rice, maybe Abdul Rauf, maybe. Now the other guys could make threes, but they weren't just 3-point specialists. You know what I'm saying? Mitch Richmond could take it to the cup. He could post you up, mid range and three. I'm not talking about guys like that. Allen Houston, mid range and three. Jordan, of course, I don't have to go into that. Three guys are just primarily 3-point shooters. Most of those guys were usually second, third option type guys. Plus, Curry, the one guy most people kind of compare him to is Abdul Rauf. Abdul Rauf was more athletic. He wasn't as consistent as Curry, but a little bit had to do with the era that he played in. I think Curry's a better 3-point shooter uh, than Abdul Rauf, more consistent from 3-point line. From 2-point on in, it's arguably you could say Abdul Rauf. They both were tremendous foul shooters, both over 90% for their careers. Curry was a great, great ball handler, but Abdul Rauf was quicker, and Abdul Rauf was a little bit stronger and more athletic. You're talking about a guy who is not particularly strong in Curry. A guy who, I'm telling you, in that era, Curry driving to the basket is not going to happen. With the Shaqs and the David Robinsons and the Patrick Ewings and the Kimmy Mutombos, the Mark Eatons, earlier the Manute Bowles, the Alonzo Mournings, if I ever said him, you know, the Jason Williams, uh, the Kurt Thomases, the Charles Oakleys, the Xavier McDaniels, the Anthony Masons. That's just the tip of the fucking iceberg. That's not going to happen in that era. Theo Ratliff, he's not. We already see how fragile he is now in this era. If anything, I would be concerned about whether he could last in that era. And his personality, he's not exactly the most fuck nigga shit. Can't stop me, motherfuckers. He's competitive, but he kind of I don't know, man. It's when I look at Curry, I see a guy maximum. Okay, I see a guy that would probably average 17.5, 18 points a game. That's what I see in him. His shooting percentages will be a little bit lower. The 3-point percentage will be a little lower. I think he'd be more like 43% from the floor, more like 38%, 39% from three. Still really good numbers for that era. But the 30 points per game, no. Just because of the way the game was. It'd be more twos. He wouldn't shoot as many threes because guys just weren't shooting a three like that. In 1996, I think the average 3-point attempts per game was like 14 a game, which is far less than half what they're taking now. So even the most, um, prodigious 3-point shooters like the George McLeods and the Dennis Scotts. Notice all those guys, the John Starks, they weren't number one options. They were just 3-point specialists, which I'm kind of thinking Curry might have been more or less just a 3-point specialist. Um, but then again, if you're a 3-point specialist, what are you, like fourth in the offense? Third? That's why I say maybe 17. Maybe. And this is another thing I got to get off my chest too, man. We need to decide exactly what we expect from him. Because on the one end, Steph Curry is supposed to be this transformative figure, that he's influenced the 3-point shot. He's an unstoppable offensive force. Once he gets it going, he's the greatest shooter in the history of the NBA. They always anoint that title to everybody, whoever the fuck they just want to say it. 1 minute is Ray Allen. The next minute is Steph Curry. The next minute is Tracy McGrady. The next minute is Kobe Bryant. The next minute is LeBron James when he gets it going. The next minute is, James Harden. It's never who the fuck the flavor of the month is with some of these guys. But for sake of argument, let's just say it's Steph Curry again, right? That he's the greatest offensive force ever. Okay. Then why does he have such lowered expectations for what people expect out of him? Well, Stephen A. Smith will say, well, Curry, he needs his boys. He needs his guys, Clay and Draymond, and preferably another superstar to have a championship run. What the fuck? Like Dave Chappelle said on the Cover Brother. What the fuck, Chief? Wait a minute. If I'm not mistaken, I don't remember Reggie Miller having a loaded team, especially when it came to offensive threats. Wasn't he like the only guy that could really shoot? I remember one year he had a decrepit Chris Mullin, and then later down the stretch he had what's his name, Sam Perkins, but another perimeter guy in his prime, knocking down threes. It was just Reggie. And also, the Pacers were one of the slowest paced teams in the NBA in the 1990s, which goes to show you because Reggie played within the offense. He wasn't a shot jacker. Reggie, rarely took more than 20 shots a game. Reggie usually took between 14 to 16 shots a game. He wasn't a selfish guy. If he was a selfish guy, if Reggie Miller played in this era with his mentality, with his competitive nature, with the rules the way they are today, like, as clutch as he was back then when defenses could stop you, with fucking John Starks with his hand out, pushing him way out the 3-point. We all seen that shot where he fucking hoists the three and it goes in when he's fucking 35 feet out. Imagine him playing today where you can just blow past the defense and lay up city. There's no pressure now. John Starks can't put his hands on. He can't put his elbows on you. He has to use his feet. Oh, excuse me, not John Starks. Tyler Hero. Yeah, he has to use his feet now on Reggie Miller. And I'm 6'7", I'm Reggie Miller, not 6'3". By the way, that's another thing I didn't mention. Curry be 6'3". Are you serious? 6'3" in that era? And you're not that particularly athletic? Joe Dumars was bigger and stronger than him, and they're about the same height. And Joe D, I think his highest average was 20. Okay, another great shooter from that era is about the same size as him, Jeff Hornacek. One terrible year with the Sixers, a great scorer he was, great shooter at least. He averaged 20. But somehow you're trying to tell me that Curry's going to go back in time in that era and he's going to average 30 plus points when the only guy that was doing it from the perimeter at that time was Jordan. Kiss my ass. Okay, so Reggie Miller in this era if he had the green light to shoot, probably could average whatever these guys are averaging. You know, he wasn't a selfish guy, so maybe he wouldn't average 30 plus, but he damn sure would average 27, 28. Easy. Easy. Because he just would, the game would be tailored for him. And he doesn't have to work as hard to get his shot off. Mind you, in that era, he shot 47%. 47%. Almost 40 from three. 89, I believe, from the foul line. In his era. Reggie retired just before 2005, just bore they opened the game up. Just as they were about to open the game up, that's Reggie Miller retired. He thought about coming back with Boston, but he didn't. In 2008, I think it was. I'm just saying, man, at the end of this video, Steph Curry's a tremendous player. There's going to be people who's going to call me a hater. I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm tired of catering to people, you know what I'm saying, you know, trying to appease other people. That Neville Chamberlain shit don't work. You know what I'm saying? We don't know who Neville Chamberlain is. I suggest you read more. That Neville Chamberlain appeasement shit don't work. It only works when you stand tall. And you fight. I tell you. I shall never surrender. This YouTube shit. NBA. We shall fight on the court. Beaches. We shall fight on the shores. We shall fight these fanboys. Because as I just said before, we shall never surrender.